Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Azmeer. So we'll be looking at this unit from today onwards. So this is a very interesting topic. Let me switch to the browser. Let's have a look at what this program is all about. Right, so I hope you can see the screen here. Okay. So the topic is techniques in social media, right? There are a couple of information here. By the way, I've updated the LMS. So as you can see, the details are here. So this is a 3-credit unit, a core unit. And if you look at the evaluation, there is okay, I'll discuss that in a minute. So this is the LMS. So I've loaded the unit outline information here. As we move forward, I will add more to it here. What I did was I got the PDF file opened here separately so we can look at the detail here. And there is no prerequisite for this unit, which means you can start afresh from this unit without bringing in any previous knowledge on any of the matters. But I prefer having some serious programming skills to be a prerequisite here. But since I think you've done it already, so you're done your basic programming, I hope, right? What are the programming languages you have done so far? Vasindu, Randita, can somebody tell me what programming languages you have done so far? Janet? Somebody talk, please. What are the programming languages you have done so far? Can somebody talk, please? I'm waiting because I need to decide what languages to use in the unit. Yes, I can't hear. Anyone who has done Python, can you raise your hands? There is a raise hand function here. So if you can raise your hand, I can see it here. Python Karabati Kaudi? 2. So only 2, 3 people have done Python. 4, 5, 6. Right. 9. Out of 16, only 9 people have done Python. What about the other people? What is the language you have done? Anyone done? Okay, you can lower your hand. Anybody done Java here? How many people have done Java? Can you raise your hand? Out of 16, I can see 4. 5. Right, few people have done Java. What about PHP? Anyone done PHP here? Can you raise your hand if you have done any PHP? 1. What? All right, because there is some programming involved here. I need to figure out which programming language you should be using in this. You can do everything using any language, just that I would like you to use something that you're already familiar with. So what are the web-based applications, or what languages you have used to develop web-based applications? Have you developed any web-based application using Python? Can you raise your hand? Like a framework like Django, for example. Anyone used Django here, Python? No? One. So you not build a web-based application using Python, is it? Sorry about Java. Anyone build any web-based application using Java? Nobody. Okay. Any other language? Anyone has ever built any web-based applications here? Surprised. Nothing. Okay, so that'll be exciting then. So let's go through the unit outline first before we get down to the content of the unit, right? So there are 5 ILOs, that is intended learning outcomes of this unit. So the first one is to examine technologies for social media content design. I'm sure all of you have on some social media platform, right? There is Facebook, there is Instagram, then there is what else we have? We have Pinterest, we have YouTube. There are so many. So what are the technologies used to design content for this social media is something that we need to understand. And then number 2 is analyze social media design principles and patterns. So what are the design principles used in social media? Now, design principles, we're not actually talking about graphic design here. You may have learned under software engineering, the design, right? Software engineering design. So what are some of the designs and patterns used in social media? And then number 3, develop platform independent applications. Now, this is about applications, okay? So how do you use social media platforms and sort of integrate that into existing platforms, existing application? A good example would be authentication. Now, this LMS, for example, you can log in using 2 ways, right? You can either have a username and a password, or you can have your Google account to authenticate you. So now, in our case, we are only using Google, but in other places you may have seen you can authenticate using Facebook, you can authenticate using LinkedIn, you can authenticate using GitHub. There are so many different ways where you can authenticate. So how does that work, right? So your application may be written using PHP, but you are using, let's say, Google to authenticate. So we don't know what language Google is using. They may not be using PHP. They may be using something else, but we still can integrate both them together. Okay. And number 4 is adhere to privacy policies in application development. See, when you authenticate, you have access to the backend of the social media and you can request a lot of things. Immediately when you access, you get the username and the email address of the user. What do you do with that, right? So there are certain laws controlling where now otherwise, I mean, people can start selling the email addresses and things like that from their platforms, right? So there are laws governing those things. So there is some serious laws when it comes to privacy policies and certain aspects of that. So we need to discuss that as well. And number 5 is social media strategies and the international market, right? How now, if you notice last month, US is looking at banning TikTok in America, right? There's a legal aspect they're looking at. India has already banned TikTok. So the reasons they're bringing in, sometimes the America says it's due to political issues because the company behind TikTok is funded by the Chinese government. So that's the reason they're bringing in. India has a different matter. So they don't like everyone, going online and having a mess on that platform. So things like that. So there are social issues in India, by the way. So we need to understand from a software point of view, how does that sort of relate to us on the social media platforms? Okay. So those are the learning outcomes, by the way. And down here, we have certain outlines of the syllabus. Starting from, there are 4 areas actually we're looking at. One is technologies used in social media, then design criteria, privacy policies, and design of strategies. So the first one is technologies. So we are looking at what kind of technologies these social media platforms are using. And it's a bit of a tough thing because most of these things are not open. Yeah, they're very proprietary. For example, we know Facebook is developed using PHP language, but we know very little about how they actually use it there. So they have their own proprietary frameworks, ways of doing things and whatnot, which they don't advertise. So we will try to see how much we can get from the publicly available information about how these social media systems are designed. Now, generally speaking, there are 2 aspects of that. There is a back-end technology, then there is also front-end technology. Most of the time, they are 2 different things. So front-end, we have things like Vue, we have React, we have a few other things coming up. Google recently came up with another platform called Flutter, where you can design it for mobile applications, websites, for both Mac and PC and Unix and everything. Microsoft is also looking at a similar platform. They have something called Silverlight that works on multiple platforms. So there are lots of things going on. There are some very mature platforms, so we need to know what is going on there. So the way we integrate to these platforms is using something called API, Application Programming Interface. Right? Another very famous thing happening with the social media is chat. In fact, chatbot. Facebook was pioneering that aspect, where rather than talking to someone, rather than sending an email and waiting for a personalized response, you can start a chat with somebody called the chatbot, a robot, software robot that can have an interesting conversation with you. So it will require you to give some input, and depending on your input, it will come back to you with some answers. You may have noticed that if you go to Facebook Marketplace and then press the chat button, it will ask you with some already filled in information. Generally people want to know whether it is available, what is the price, whether delivery is there, very common question. So that can be automated rather than getting a person to answer. So how do you do that? And then number 2 is design criteria when it comes to application. So different use cases, what is the most suitable technology. So this is where you may have to walk out of your comfort zone. So for example, if you're very comfortable with Python, for example, or maybe Java, am I going to use this language for my next application? Right? You can, but is it the best application to use? Maybe not, maybe yes. So that we need to figure out. And then third one is privacy policies in the social media platform. So privacy is a huge concern, both locally and internationally, because there are lots of fake accounts coming up and people throw mud at others. There are true things, there are false things going on. Now, how do you know what is right, what is wrong? So some time ago, we did not have enough information. Now the problem is we have too much information. So we call it information overload. So in a situation like that, how do you handle information overload is another question, right? So policies are required in controlling those things locally as well as internationally. We will also look at some examples on how certain companies, countries, especially politicians, use these technologies to divert attention and do things that are not, maybe not right from larger general public, right? It may be all right for them and their campaign, but may not be correct from a larger uh, population's perspective, right? And then the last one is design social media strategies. So strategy is not just a plan, it's about how you get things done, right? So you can use social media to do various things. You can organize an event and use social media to popularize that, uh, organize it, get people and whatnot. Politicians use it to, their political work. Religious organizations use it for that kind of work. People use it for education. Others use it to contact with their long lost friends, maybe. So there are lots of different things are there. So how do we, from an organization point of view, use this as a strategy to get things done, right? We also need to understand the trends, like what is going on right now, especially with the introduction of AR, VR gear. The last one was from Apple. Then there's another one from Facebook. So what's going on? There's a lot of things are going on. So in the next maybe 3 years to 5 years, a lot of things on the internet will be completely different to what you see today. Again, from AI to AR, VR, to high-speed internet, and then also smartphones prices coming down. Everyone is on the internet and they're all socially connected, right? So there will be a time where we don't know what is real, what is virtual, which is already happening now. So we, from a technology point of view, we need to understand where we are heading in that regard. Yeah. So how do we monitor? How do we monetize is another one. This is for people who are running social media campaigns. So there are two aspects of it. You pay and promote something, and for that you have a campaign. There's a reverse source where you promote your content and the others will advertise on your platform, so you make money. So you, on one side, you are spending money to promote something. On the other side, you are earning by the fact that you have a famous, socially famous site, page or something, right? Content. So we need to look at both sides there. Okay. So this is the outline of our unit. No prerequisite here. And the assessment, okay, let me switch to the presentation. Yeah, I hope you can see the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. A little bit about myself. Been with SLTC for the last, I think, 5+ years now. Before that, I was heading the multimedia faculty at SciTem. Before that, I was heading some software development companies from Sri Lanka to US to so many other places. Multimedia was one of the big aspects I was working on, because internet is all about multimedia. So it's not just a bunch of websites. There are also various other things like photos, videos, animations, interactive content, we call it gamification, all that stuff, right? So I spent quite a lot of time building, running companies, doing these things. So we've already gone through this. The aim of this unit is to equip students with in-depth understanding and skills for developing and managing applications with various social media platforms. So essentially, you need to understand the different platforms that is available and need to know how they work interactively. That's one thing. And also how they work together, right? So you might have let's say, a WordPress based blog, and you want to authenticate that using Facebook or Google, right? Now, how do you do that? Or you want to run the campaign on, let's say, Facebook, and you want to take the data from the Facebook campaign and put that into your application, right? Maybe you're running a CRM, customer relationship management system, and your campaign is running on, let's say, Facebook or YouTube. You want to get the data from there and plug that into your software. So that's inter-platform communication is that, right? And then privacy is a big deal. We need to look at that. And also how to use these tools in a very strategic way to get the maximum benefit for the organization. Or prerequisites. By the way, the assessments are broken into 3 areas. One is your CAs, your continuous assessments. There will be few things as we move forward, some activities. So you get 20% for that. And there will be a midterm exam that will give you another 20%. And then the final exam. So that'll be giving you another 60%. Right. So these are the learning outcomes. I think I have explained this already. Examine the technologies, analyze the principles, develop applications, understand privacy policies, and then come up with the media strategies. And these are the outlines. So if you take the first one, technology used in social media, we are looking at front and back end, APIs, chatbots. This is about design criteria, and then the privacy policies, and of course, the design of social media strategies. So these are the background of this unit. Anyone has any questions? No? All right, so let's start by asking this question. What is social media? What do you think is social media? What are some of the definition from your point of view? What is social media? As the word says social, it's about connecting people. Right? So that's the social aspect of that. And media incorporates different mediums. So there is print medium, there is text, there is auditory medium, there is sound and music, and then there is also video, visual medium, that is moving visuals, I would say, video moment there. We would like to add one more thing to it, is the interactiveness. So the print and sound and video are one way, isn't it? You see it, you hear it, you listen, you watch it, but you can't do anything with it. So when you bring the interactivity to it, like let's say a game or something, so you are now interacting. So the information is both ways. You are reading, watching, and you're also giving to the other side, right? So the combination of all that is what makes social media. I would like to break that into few main areas. One is social networking, and then there is mobile commerce, and then there is also things like auctions, tendering, and things like that. So they are all possible thanks to the social networking or social mediums. That's why we bring in all together, right? Now, long before social media, we had something called the virtual communities, things, people using platform to get to know each other and things like that. Now, if you go back to the radio, actually, no, let's go back to the newspapers. Long time ago, there was in the newspaper, there are sections where you can get to know others. You can send a photograph with a little form filled, and you get to know somebody there. So they'll publish your photograph with an address, and someone who would like to know you can write a letter to you. So you may be receiving letters from many people, and you may be writing to many people, and that was how you interacted with people, right? And then came the radio. So radio, there are like fixed time slots where people can call in to the radio, or they can send a postcard asking for songs and things like that. And this, when the telephone was not very popular, it was very difficult to make a call. But that's one platform where they were using to talk to each other. So few people call the radio station, and the radio station is transmitting the communication or the discussion over the air to everyone in the country. So everyone sort of getting participated by listening to it. Same thing happened with the television as well, where now here you can go sometimes. You are invited to maybe a public forum or so. You go there, you speak to a few people, and then that's a forum that is going on. And at the same time, the television channel is transmitting that to everyone in the country. So they all can participate remotely. Okay. Auctions, again, is another very interesting aspect, because auction is where you physically go to a place and you bid for things, right? To either to sell or either to buy. Now, there's a big social connection there as well. So all those things are now happening online, right? What was happening offline 50 years ago is now happening online thanks to the internet. Now, the social mediums are the ones that are actually connecting these things together. All right. So, mobile commerce we are taken separately because thanks to the smartphones, affordable smartphones, and lots of other things like digital currencies, blockchains, and whatnot, it is possible for people to use their smartphone, to do the commerce. That is buying, selling, various things, whether it is buying a product, buying stocks, checking bank accounts, all that is now possible because of the systems we have on our mobile phone. So here is a comparison of virtual community versus social community or social network, we call it, right? So the virtual communities are where people come together with the common sort of interest. Hackers, for example, people who like hacking or hackers out there, they have a virtual community. So you go there to find out about hacking or get to know people and whatnot. Or DIY, we call it do-it-yourself sort of a group. There may be a group regarding, let's say, plantation, right? Home garden. People who like, say, cars, vehicles, people who like bikes, people who like hiking, right? So again, a virtual community of people who like the same thing. And there are text-based groups, there are graphics, there are video-based groups, there are so many things are there, right? On the social networking side, very similar, but you also get people not just there, they like it as such, but they come there to maybe purchase something or sell something, like a marketplace, for example. Or they come to use a certain things, like say, for example, Gmail is a software as a service. Example, right? There are companies who want to promote their brands. They have their social networking working at it, right? So we can't distinguish these two very clearly because they merge at some point. We can say virtual communities where most of the people who like a certain topic come together. On the social network, yes, that is also there. But apart from that, there are other things people can do on the social network also, like buying, selling, read opinions, and various things of that nature. Now, in the beginning, I said only few names on social media, right? So we looked at things like Facebook and uh, YouTube and a few things like that. But actually, there are so many tools available there when it comes to social mediums. Now, for example, Stumble Upon, Foursquare, right? Hootsuite, Delicious, lots of things. Flickr, very, very old platform. Friendster, one of the first social platforms. Even Meetup, right? There is Yelp, Cloud, right? There are so many sites out there which we can classify as social mediums, social platforms. Okay. So understanding how they work beyond what we know, few things like Facebook and YouTube will be really helpful getting our word out to the market. So if you look at the history, life before social media, okay, a lot of things have changed with the help of smartphones. And if you look at life before 2007, right, just 2000, 1995 was the introduction of the internet to the public. Internet was there long before, but 1995, it was open to the public. And then all kinds of things came up. Just before internet, there was this very famous online platform called AOL, America Online Platform, where people can chat, people can discuss various things. There were hundreds and thousands of groups available. And it was very local. So local to the state, local to the country, most of the time. But if you want to connect it to, let's say, an international or out of state thing, you need to dial expensive calls. You have to dial internationally out of state calls, which are expensive. So generally, it was very local. Right? In the beginning, if you look at the online marketing, that was generally dominated by banner advertisements. So if you go back to one of the first search engine, Yahoo made their money by showing banner advertisement to the customers. And anyone can submit their web page to Yahoo free of charge. And they were making money by showing advertisements, right? So the term we used there was impression. Impression is how many times you are showing the advertisement to the client. Now, when it comes to newspapers, counting impression is very simple. How many newspapers you printed? Is it 1,000, 10,000, 100,000? So if you printed 100,000 newspapers, then your impression is 100,000. So whether you sold the entire 100,000 is another matter, but calculating impression is very simple when it comes to our manual or mechanical mediums. But when it comes to internet-related mediums, that's not very easy to calculate because you may come to the same web page multiple times. So are you counting that as multiple impressions or single impression, right? So there are things like that. And it's important because the advertising company is charging the advertiser based on the impressions. So how many impressions they make is what they charge the client. So they need to make sure that they count it. Right? So there are some jargon specific for social media, which we will learn as we move forward. Now, here's another very interesting chart. What do we see here? Here, we are looking at the collapse of desktop computers with mobile phones. This, I think iPhone is a large contributor. iPhone brought in the smartphone with large screen. That is one big reason for many others to follow suit also. So Android became, took the same sort of route. Before Android and Apple, there was Nokia having the smartphones, right? Nokia, Ericsson had smartphones. No, in fact, Nokia had a fantastic app store as well, long before Apple and Android, but they all had natural death. If you look at 19 or rather 2015 to 16 period, this is the time where we see number of mobile phone was crossing over the number of computers. Okay. That is because couple of reasons. One, number of handsets were growing. Handset pricing was coming down. Smartphone hand. Android is largely responsible for that because Apple phones are expensive compared to Android phones. Android phones are pretty cheap. Like you can start from, let's say, even 10,000 rupees and up. Apples are expensive compared to Android phones. So with the cheap phone came a larger population using smartphone, which prompt companies to spend more money on advertising. So if you look at the percentage of total online ad spending happening, right, it is going up from 30% to more than 50%, somewhere around 2015-16. And then it was hitting further up, going all the way up to 80% by about 2020. Okay. I'm sure it's much more now. This is all thanks to social media. Now, talking of social media, we'll be spending some time talking about how to acquire customers and how the process works, because we need to understand how companies are using social mediums for their benefit. So that sort of go through multiple levels. And when you're writing software, we should be able to identify these levels also. Let's say you write an application to extract information from Facebook. You need to know where do they stand. So generally, we can break it down into about 5. I'll also talk about there's something called funnel that is coming later. So first is called fan acquisition. Who are fans? Fans are the people who like a certain thing, certain brand, certain person, certain product. So we call them fans. So how do you get them? How do you acquire them? So we need to do something about that, fan acquisition. Once you acquire them, there is something called engagement. You do some work with them, to engage with them, right? And things like have competition and giving away vouchers, whatnot, and that will amplify your engagement with the fan base. Remember, fan may not be a customer. Okay, fan is someone who likes it. They may have not purchased it yet. So our idea is for convert people who have not purchased our product so far to purchase it. That's the plan. That is the objective here, right? So that we do through engagement and amplification. And then when we do that, we will realize suddenly we have a major community base, right? Again, the community may be people who bought or not, no problem. Both are there. Now, with this community, the companies can run certain activities to strengthen the brand, right? Of course, we want to sell more, but at the same time, brand recognition and brand performance can be done at the community level, right? So these are, we can say, certain processes happening in the social media marketplace. And from a programming point of view, why are we talking about these things? Because when you are writing code, when you're designing things, you need to know where we stand. Are we doing it for acquisition? Are we doing it for engagement? Are we doing it for community building? Or are we doing it for brand strength, right? So we need to know where we stand. Now, I took Facebook as an example to show what kind of tools are available from Facebook side for marketeers. Now, we use the social media platform to increase awareness and basically this, right, brand strength and all that. So how does the social media platform help us? So I took Facebook as an example. They have something called the reaction button. Must have seen it, right? Like button, sad button, happy button, stuff like that. So these are called reactions. Now, these reaction, we can figure out a lot of things. If we see a lot of hearts or a lot of angry faces, we can figure out, okay, something is very good or something is very bad. Okay. And then brand pages. You can have a Facebook page for a brand, for an organization, for a person, product, whatever it may be. And then Facebook also has something called the news feed, where we can place advertisement on those feeds. Of course, we can advertise in the brand pages also, but we can also target the feed. If you look at the left and the right hand side of Facebook, we call them the sidebars, right? Now, these sidebars can be used to advertise, to show advertisements, either by way of text, by way of graphics, by way of videos, all that can be done. Facebook also has this feature called Facebook Live, where you can, let's say you're at an event, like what we did here, like our Singular Tamil New Year event. You can start a live session, and in the live session, you can have advertisement, you can have all kinds of stuff. This is like a free running radio or television, the live sessions. And Facebook also has video advertisements. Apart from post, we can have a video post as well. So the video can automatically run, or it can pause for people to click and run. And there are lots of things you can do with it. But Facebook video is another way of advertising on Facebook. There is also mobile phone specific advertisement we can do with Facebook. By the way, Instagram is another product bought by Facebook. So Facebook and Instagram belong to the same company, Meta. So they have mobile specific ads as well, right? Instagram started as a mobile only platform. So that's why they have certain sizes. For example, for videos and photos, they must be square, right? So all those limitations came because it was built on top of mobile phones. Then they also have sponsored messages. Now, by the way, these are tools from Facebook. Okay. Things we can do with Facebook on social media. The last one is Facebook Exchange. Now, what does that mean? Now, we can, if we have a very famous page or, very famous things going on. Facebook used to have a lot of other things. Now, sometimes they remove things also. They had something called blogs, Facebook blog, and that's no more there. So if you have interesting content yourself, Facebook will allow you to use that as a platform for advertisements. Again, most of these things does not require any programming knowledge, but if you know programming, you can do much more with the help of programming. All right. Now, of all these things, we also need to figure out, are we doing it right? Isn't it? Now, this is where measurements come into the picture. Measuring. We also use the term KPI, Key Performance Indicator. So, if you look at Facebook, in general terms, we can look at number of impressions. How many times a certain ad was displayed to people can be one indicator. And second one is much better, engagement. How many times people have clicked the reaction button, they started a conversation, things like that. So that's another indicator. Third one is amplification. So you figure out, okay, we are only famous for 20, 30 people. How can you go more? How can you grow it further up? Right? So that can be another indication as well. So you can say before you starting the campaign, you had 10,000 people. Now, after the campaign, you had 20,000 people. So your amplification is 100%. And then building up the community. How many people are there in your group? How many people you can use to push some content and things like that. And the last is brand spend or sales. We can spend a lot of money promoting product, but then it must all convert to some sort of financial benefit, isn't it? So that is something that we can check as well. So these are KPIs that you can use with Facebook for the moment. You can, of course, have similar things for other platforms as well. Right, which brings us to the next topic, mobile commerce. What does that mean? So this was actually, like I said, 1995 was the internet launch to the public. 1997, Kevin Duffy at a certain trade show coined this term, mobile commerce. And here's the definition. The delivery of electronic commerce capabilities directly into the consumer's hand, anywhere through wireless technology. So that's the definition. It has become very, very normal nowadays. But imagine 1997, where mobile phone was still in the beginning, very expensive to make calls and no mobile internet as such. So to come up with this futuristic technology, that is fantastic. So we will look at some of the challenges of mobile commerce side. One is evolution of devices, because you can buy a phone today and next maybe few months, there's a new version coming up. More than the hardware, the software is also changing, right? The operating system of the mobile phone is changing. Apple is changing, Android is changing, Huawei has their thing, and Redmi has a HyperOS, stuff like that. So how do you keep up with these changes? Fragmentation is another one where you have all kinds of devices, right? Large screen, small screen, tablets, split phones. So all kinds of different things are there. So when you're designing things, you need to incorporate all those different devices as well. If you take the payment, it's another matter. There are different kinds of payment solutions, right? Credit card, debit card, digital wallet, transfers, all kinds of stuff. And then another big challenge is how to simplify buying, because after all, credit card payment required going to the bank, and then the bank will throw up another pop-up. You have to type something in there. So it's a long process for a normal person to go through that process. They'll very quickly give up because of process, right? But if you look at companies like Alibaba and AliExpress, they have a single click purchasing facility, which was introduced by Amazon a long time ago, where there is no pop-up from the bank. You just say purchase now, and that's it. It will automatically make the communication with the bank and all that done. Now, these are the challenges, but look at the opportunities. It's a huge market, isn't it? The market is increasing day by day. And the experience is very, very personalized, because when you're talking to someone on the phone, or rather, sending information to the phone, it's very personalized to that particular person, right? So the person has a very good tendency of buying it because it's personalized. So you are addressed by your name and presented the product that you think you should have, and there's a big chance of you end up buying it. So we'll look at how the psychology of these things work later, but that's very personalized experience. Number 3 there is location-based targeting. Now, this is a big one. Imagine noon today, you are walking past Majestic City. Suddenly, you are getting a message to your phone saying, look, Nirosh, it's afternoon. There is a nearby Pizza Hut. They are giving away 20% off to your thin crust chicken pizza, right? Now, for you to get that message, lots of different parties must work together. Telecom company must know you are at Bambalapitiya now, and you're you're passing Majestic City, the telecom company knows by way of location system. And Pizza Hut knows you like thin crust chicken because you've been ordering it for a couple of times before. And they also know the standard price you paid. Let's say you paid 3,000 rupees, now you're getting a say 20% discount on that, right? So now time is right for some food. You're passing the right place at the right time. And when you receive that advertisement, there's a big chance of you walking and buying that, right? So when do it right, this is becoming very, very powerful medium of advertising. Very personalized, very location-based, and very much positive. Okay, so lots of parties, like I said, requires working together to get it done. So talking of this location capturing, the standard way of location capturing is GPS, right? And there are also other means, Wi-Fi spots, Bluetooth. There are, in fact, Apple came up with something called the iBeacon, where it can detect your location when you pass through an iBeacon. Then there is also geo search. There is something called geofencing. Through that, they can find out. And then there are also cell towers we use to a triangular. There's a way of locating someone using 3 towers. That's called the triangular method. So you can do that as well. And also, of course, registration signing in. So there are tools like Foursquare, where when you walk into MC, if you have Foursquare on your phone, you will sign in. And then Foursquare can immediately present you with the location-based products and services. Right, our last topic is auctions. Why auctions? Because of the social mediums, auctions are becoming very, very effective. Very convenient. You can use your mobile phone from anywhere to participate. And it is open 24/7. It's open all the time. And feedback is instant. So you don't need to wait for a human to come back and tell you, sir, it's instant. Of course, that lead to saving time and money. You also have a lot of choices, by the way, because you can take your own time. Like, for example, browsing through, say, the Facebook marketplace, or let's say other platforms like Daras and Alibaba and various platforms that we have, Takas. So you have the option of looking at it on your own time. Okay. If you look at eBay, that's a good example for online auctions. You can see things, you can look at the timeline. They might say, okay, you need to bid before this time. And all that is very personalized and very powerful. All right. So, which brings us to the introduction of social mediums. So today I wanted to take you through the outline, syllabus, and also how we are going to approach this unit. Okay. So that was my plan. So as we move forward, I will update you with many different things. So we have the LMS loaded with lots of different things. As time to come, we will be also doing some coding. I'm yet to decide as to which language to use. So that's why I ask which language you are using. So there is Python, there is Java, there is PHP, there are C#. There are so many ways, different ways we can get this thing done. Let's figure out the easier way, or the most appropriate for ways to get it done. Any questions, anyone? Any questions? I'll get the recording listed in the LMS in maybe a couple of hours' time. Do some research on the technology behind the social mediums available. So that's our focus. We're going to study them and see how they are built. All right. So I'm done for today. I'll see you next week.